Good morning and welcome back. In today's session, I am going to discuss about the encapsulating security payload. In short form, this can be called as ESP. So ESP stands for encapsulating security payload. In the previous sessions, we have discussions on the IP security, and we have seen that there are three services that are provided by this IPsec. One is the confidentiality, second one is the authentication, and the third one is related to IKE. IKE stands for Internet Key Exchange. And there are two types of protocols that we are going to discuss here to provide these services, and we have so many algorithms that are related to IKE that we will discuss when we are discussing about this IKE concept. But regarding this authentication and confidentiality, the authentication will be provided by making use of AH, where AH stands for authentication header, and the confidentiality is provided by ESP, which is the encapsulating security payload. In those discussions, we already told that AH is deprecated. The reason is the ESP, that is the encapsulating security payload itself, provides both the services like the confidentiality and the authentication. So there is no need to discuss about this AH unless we have some significance that is related to the theoretical point and examination point of view. And this we are not going to discuss. The authentication header we are not going to discuss. And this ESP, as we told, that it is going to provide us both these services, that is the confidentiality and the authentication. So in this session we are going to discuss about this encapsulating security payload, and in the broader sense we know that this ESP is going to provide us the confidentiality and the authentication service. Other than these services like this confidentiality, and authentication, it also provides some more services such as integrity. Integrity is a security service where it ensures that the data that is sent by the sender has reached the receiver in the correct format. That is, there are no modifications during its transmission from the sender to the receiver. That service we call it as the integrity service, and this is also provided by this ESP. And we also have the ARP service, which is called as the anti-replay service. So replaying is an attack. Replaying is an attack where the third party unauthorized user, he just intercepts the message that is sent by the sender and replays it after some time. He will send the same packet again to the receiver. For example, let us see. So this is the sender and this is the receiver we have. In between the sender and receiver, there exists a communication channel where the data packets will be transferred using this communication channel. And he is let us say he is EU. So whatever packets that are sent from the sender to the receiver, what EU will do is he will simply intercept them, store it in her database, and after some time she is going to send the same packets without any modification. She is going to send the same packets to the receiver. At that particular point, the receiver is already having that packet, and when he receives another packet of the same packet number or the sequence number, whatever it may be, so what this receiver will think is, he thinks that somebody is going to trap us. So that is a special type of attack by the third party unauthorized users, and to counterpart that replaying attack, we have this ARP, that is anti-replay service, anti-replaying service. We will see what this anti-replay is and how this ESP is going to provide this anti-replay service. All these things we will discuss once we go through this ARP. This is also one of the important topic. And in addition to this, it also provides the traffic flow confidentiality. We know what is this confidentiality is. Confidentiality is something that you ensure that the data is not exposed to the unauthorized parties. And here the confidentiality is provided to the traffic flow. So the attacker, even though he is not aware of the actual contents that are present inside the packet, he can get some idea about the traffic that is being transmitted from the sender to the receiver. So once he has that statistics related to the traffic that is being sent by the sender to the receiver, he can have some estimations or he can do some statistical analysis. Thereby he can get some of the plain text or whatever information the Eve is interested in. So the flow of traffic should be confidential in order to counterpart some of the attacks from the third party unauthorized users. That traffic flow confidentiality is also provided by this ESP. So these are the various services that are provided by the ESP, and main services are the confidentiality and the authentication. This authentication is called as the data origin authentication. The name itself is giving that it is going to give the authentication service with respect to the data originated. That means with respect to the sender. He is the data originator, sender. So at the receiving side, it is going to provide, the ESP packet is going to provide the data origin authentication. So the sender cannot deny it that I didn't send any packets. That is called the authentication. And the receiver will get the confirmation that the packets has been received from the genuine user itself. And this integrity, as we have discussed earlier, and anti-replay attack, this is also the service that is provided by the ESP. And in addition to them, we also have the traffic flow confidentiality. These are the various things you need to understand, that these are the services that are provided by the ESP. And you may get a doubt, sir, how do we know that we are going to provide the confidentiality service or authentication service or integrity? So this is the option that is provided at the sender side. The sender can select the confidentiality and integrity. The sender can select confidentiality, authentication and integrity. So he will be provided, the set of services provided depends upon the selection that is made by the sender before establishing the security association. The security association topic has been discussed in the earlier sessions, and this is nothing but a logical connection between the sender and the receiver, where we are going to provide all these services. It is just a logical connection. Don't think that it is a physical connection. So whenever you want to provide these security services, you should establish a logical connection, and that logical connection, we are calling it with a name called as the security service. Security association, SEM. So before establishing the security service, the sender has the option to select one of the services or the set of services. Thereby he can get all these different services that is given by the ESP. And the advantage, one more important point is, the advantage with this encapsulating security payload is it works with a variety of authentication as well as the encryption algorithms. So this ESP does not support only few authentication algorithms or one or two authentication algorithms or one encryption algorithm. This ESP is going to work with a wide variety of encryption and authentication algorithms. So many examples are there. Let us discuss when we go through that particular topic. So So this is the introduction part related to the encapsulating security payload. We just had a discussion on what are the services that are being provided by the ESP. So let us go through this very quickly. ESP provides a wide variety of security services like the confidentiality, data origin authentication, connectionless integrity, anti-replay service, and traffic flow confidentiality. As I told that these set of services provided depends upon the options that are selected at the time of establishing the security association. And as I told that the ESP can work on a variety of encryption and authentication algorithms. It's not just one algorithm, it's not just one encryption algorithm or one authentication algorithm, it is going to work with the ESP. It is going to work with a wide variety of algorithms. Once we have the idea on this ESP introduction, let us go with how the ESP packet format. So in networking, we need to have a good idea on what are the various packet formats we have. You should have an idea on IP packet format. You should have an idea on transport layer packet data units. So all these things you should have an idea. Similarly, whenever you are going to deal with the ESP packets, you should know how this ESP format looks like. You should know what are the various fields that should be included inside this ESP. So let us have a top level view of this ESP format. So this is how the top level view of the ESP packet is. So if you go to this breadth, you can see here that this is a 32-bit length from here to here, and this may vary. Let us discuss about this one. So the various fields that you can observe in this packet format is, the first one is the security parameter index, which in short form we are calling it as the SPI, and the second field which we are going to discuss is the sequence number, and the third one is the payload data, and the fourth one is the padding. We will see why this padding is used. We know one of the purpose of this padding. It is used to fill the gap or to fill it into the entire block. So if you have some deficiency in the number of bytes that need to be completed in order to create it as a block, that deficiency can be filled by this padding data. And we have this pad length, next field is pad length, and the next field is next header, and the last field is the integrity check value. In short form we are calling it as ICV. Let us see what each and every parameter is going to do. Security parameter index. This previously also we have discussed under the SAD and SPD. Those are the databases, security association database and security policy databases. The purpose of this security parameter index is, let us see what is the length of this SPA. So this entire from here to here, it is going to take 32 bits. So the security parameter index is a 32-bit length, and the main purpose of this security parameter index is to identify the security association, is to identify the logical connection that is being used for that particular purpose. So that is the purpose of this SPI. It is used to identify the security association. So it has some extra information related to the security association. And the second field is the sequence number, and you can observe here that this is also a 32-bit length from here to here. It is also a 32-bit. And the name itself is saying that it is going to provide us the sequence number. That is, it is nothing but a counter. You can assume it as a counter. So once a packet is ready, it will just give one number to it, and it keeps on incrementing that particular number. And that is treated as the unique identifier for the packets. And this particular sequence number is very important in order to deal with the anti-replay service that is provided by the ESP. Very, very important role is played by it. So every packet will be having a number, and that number is identified by this sequence number. You can assume it as a counter. So it keeps on increasing. So the first packet, if it is named as 1, the second packet is named as 2. The first packet is named as 1, the second packet is named as 2, the third packet as 3, and the fourth packet 4, and so on like this. And the maximum value for the any packet can be given by this number, that is 2 power 32. That's all about this sequence number. And coming to the third part, that is the payload data. And the length of this payload data, you can see here that it is variable. So it is not fixed. It is not 32, it is not 64, it is not 58. So it depends upon the data which you want to transmit from the sender to the receiver. It can have the variable length. This is one of the important points. You should be very cautious here. And what is this payload data? You should go to the discussion of the OSI model. In the previous discussions also, we have seen that the OSI model consists of 7 different layers, and the data is transmitted from the sender to the receiver, and from the sender side the data is transmitted from top to bottom. While you are transmitting the data from one layer to another layer, for example layer 7 to layer 6, let us say, and at this sixth layer, whatever data that is received from the 7th layer, we call it as payload. On the 6th layer, it will add some additional information in the form of headers, and that entire packet or entire data with the in addition to this header will be sent to the 5th layer. And the entire data that is with the payload of the first layer, 7th layer, along with the header, is completely treated as the payload for 5th layer. It processes it and then adds a header, and again it is sent to the layer that is present downwards. The entire packet from here to here, this becomes the payload for 4th layer. And it processes it as the header, and again it is sent to the next layer. Like that it continues. And we know that this IP layer or the network layer, this one is present here. The layer above it is called the transport layer. So the payload for the network layer is the data that is received from the transport layer. The entire data that is received from the transport layer, we call it as the payload for this network layer. So this payload data is nothing but the data that is received from the transport layer. Therefore, this is a transport layer segment, or this also can be an IP packet. So this we will discuss it in terms of the transport mode and the tunnel mode, which we are going to discuss in the next coming sessions. And coming to this padding, we will have a separate discussion on this padding in the next coming slides. But basically we know the purpose of this padding. The purpose of padding is to fill the gap or to expand the plain text to the required length. So the plain text may be in multiples of 32, but you don't have data that is multiples of 32. In such case, you can fill the gap or you can expand the plain text in this format to make the plain text to the required length. There are some other purposes, we will discuss it in the next coming slides. And the next field is the pad length. The name itself is saying that it is going to give the length of the padding. Here you can see that the padding can extend from 0 to 255 bytes. It may vary between this 0 and 255. But what is the actual length of the padding? How can I differentiate with the actual data? For example, padding is only 10 bytes. Remaining thing is related to this payload data. So how can I identify the 10 bytes? How can I separate these 10 bytes from the original data? That is done by making use of this pad length. And the length of this pad length is, you can see that this is 8-bit. It is just an 8-bit. See here, the entire part from here to here is 32. If you break it into two parts, it is 16 and 16, and again you break it here. This is 8-bit and this is 8-bit. Therefore, the pad length is of 8-bit and it is used to identify the length of the padding that is used in this particular packet. And the next field is the next header field. The name itself is giving the idea that it is going to identify the type of data contained in the payload data field. That is, it is going to identify the first header in that payload. For example, I told that this payload is from the transport layer, right? And it is going to identify the header part of this transport segment. And the last field which we are going to discuss is the integrity check value. In short form, we are calling it as the ICV. Here also you can observe that the length of this ICV is variable, but it should be in the multiples of 32 only. That means it can be 32, it can be 64 and so on like this. It should be only in the multiples of 32. And the main purpose of this integrity check value is to check the integrity of the message or to check the integrity of the packet. During transmission, the packet can be attacked and it can be modified. The data can be modified. How can you check? How can the receiver check whether the data in the packet is modified or it is the original data that is sent by the sender? So what the sender will do is, before sending the data, he will do some processing on the packet and he will give some value that is called as ICV, integrity check value. Let us assume that it is some 2, 5, 7, 8 like this. It is just an assumption. And when this packet is received by the receiver, he will go and check the integrity value. Okay, the integrity value is 2578. The receiver will again do the same type of calculations on the entire packet and he will find out the value. For example, assume that he gets the same value as 2578. The value that is calculated at the receiver end and the value that is received in the packet is similar. Therefore, no data has been modified during the transmission. This is what the receiver has identified. So if no data is modified during the transmission, this is nothing but the integrity. So that is the purpose of this integrity check value. Let us say that the receiver has got some other value 3050, which is not matching with this 2578. Now the receiver will come to an understanding that the data in the packet has been modified during its transmission. So there is no integrity. So it may request the sender to send that packet again, or it will do some necessary calculations at the same side This depends upon the implementation, that is a different case. The ICV value is used to check the integrity of the packet that is received at the receiver end. How do we get this 2578? Let us see. It is just an example. So, you can see here that from here to here, it will cover this ICV, or the ICV value is calculated starting from the SPI and ending up to this next header field. All these fields 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, everything will be combined and the necessary calculations will be performed to calculate this ICV. So, it will take this entire contents, security parameter index, sequence number, payload data, padding, pad length, next header, everything will be taken into consideration to calculate this ICV value. And whatever value that it has calculated, that is kept here in this integral multiples of 32 in this field, and it will be sent. Once it is received at the receiver end, it will again calculate the same thing from the SPI to the next header, and it will check or it will compare it with the value that is present inside this field. If they are equal, integrity is maintained. If they are not equal, integrity is not maintained. Somebody has modified the packet during its transmission. That is the meaning of this ICV. And as we told that the ESP packet, it provides the authentication, data origin authentication, confidentiality and integrity. We know how this integrity is checked by making use of this ICV value, and you should be very careful that ICV value is always calculated for the entire data part. So, it includes SPI, sequence number, payload data, payload length, padding, pad length, next header, everything is included to calculate the ICV. And when you consider the next service, that is the confidentiality service, how we are going to provide the confidentiality means by making use of the encryption technique. So, you need to encrypt the data before sending, and that encryption is being done from here to here. See here that it is not including the first two fields, security parameter index and sequence number are never encrypted. The encryption includes the payload data, padding, pad length and next header. These are the four fields that are going to be encrypted. Right. So, that is all about the ESP packet format. And coming to this ICV, let us have some more discussion on this ICV, integrity check value. As I told that this is going to be used to check the integrity of the packet or the data that is received at the receiver end. And you can have some algorithms to check this integrity. To calculate the ICV value, to check the integrity, we have some different algorithms. So, those algorithms can calculate the ICV value separately, or they can provide both the encryption and ICV. So, there are different algorithms that provide this encryption and ICV combinedly. Those are called as combined mode algorithms. When you are using this combined mode algorithm, the name itself is saying that it is going to provide the encryption and ICV. Similarly, at the receiver end, this combined mode algorithm is going to decrypt the data as well as it is going to check the integrity whether the decrypted plain text is passing or failing the integrity check or not. So, combined mode algorithms, both encryption and ICV. At the receiver end, both decryption and ICV. This is the purpose of this combined mode algorithms. Right. We have, this is all about the ESP packet format. In addition to this ESP packet format, we also have some more fields that are added to the new ESP packet format. Let us see that one. This everything we have discussed, right? Security parameter index, it identifies the security association, sequence number, It is a monotonically increasing counter value, and this provides the anti-replay function. Payload data, it is the transport level segment data. Padding we have seen, it varies from 0 to 255. Pad length, it is 8 bits, and next header, it is also 8 bits. Pad length is used to find the number of or the length of the padding that is used in the packet. Next header is used to identify the type of data contained in the payload data. ICV, I told that it is of variable length, and it is used to check the integrity of the packet. And this is the ESP extended format. It consists of all the parameters that is already included, that is, it consists of SPA, the purpose is same. It consists of sequence number, the purpose is same, and it consists of the payload, it consists of the padding, it consists of pad length, next header, and the integrity check value. The description what we have given in the previous slide applies similar to that of this extended format also. But why it is called as extended format means we have two fields, extra fields. That is the IV, which is called as the initialization value. This is used for the synchronization purpose. Initialization value that is taken from this payload, which is variable, and you can see here that this is optional. It may add this IV value or it may not add this IV value. Similarly, another field we have, extra field we have, is the TFC field, that is traffic flow confidentiality. You can observe here that this is also optional and the length is variable. So, there is no fixed length for this traffic flow confidentiality field, and this is optional. You may include or you may not include. So, the packet format, the ESP packet format, what we have seen earlier is the original packet format, and this is the extended format where you have two additional fields, and those two additional fields are also optional. You may or may not include. Let us see what is the purpose of this IV and ICV. See, TFC, sorry. So, these two additional fields may be present in the payload or may not be present, and this IV, that is initialization value, it is used for the synchronization, and as we told that this is nonce. Nonce means it is a one time used number. It is something similar to that of the OTP, which we are very familiar with today's generation, right? One time password. Similarly, nonce is a number that is randomly generated, and the purpose is for the synchronization purpose. So, this is all about the IV, and this is required by the encryption and authentications algorithms that are used in the ESP. So, why we are going to use this means because some of the algorithms that are used in the ISP for encryption and authentication, they require these initial values. So, when such type of algorithms are used, you can go for this initialization value. Until then, there is no need for this. That is the reason why we say that it is optional in nature. So, remember that this is just nonce, that means it is used only for one occasion or it is used only for one time. And coming to the next additional field that we have is the traffic flow confidentiality. So, this is one of the service that is provided by the ESP, we know it, right. So, in the tunnel mode, which we are going to discuss in the next slide, let us just assume that there is a mode called tunnel mode. So, in the tunnel mode, the IPsec implementation may add the traffic flow confidentiality service also. In order to provide this traffic flow confidentiality service, we should add some padding bits to represent the traffic flow confidentiality, and that should be added after payload data and before the padding field. So, it lies between the payload and the padding 3 and 4. And you can see here the ICV value is again calculated from the security parameter index all through this next header. That means it will include SPI, it will include sequence number, it will include initialization value, it will include payload, this TFC is included, padding is included, pad length is included, and the next header is included. So from top to bottom, that is from SPI to next header, it will include the ICV. And coming to the encryption part, you can see that encryption is always done on the data only, payload data. So you can see here that it is done from here to here. So payload data followed by TFC, padding, pad length, and the next header, everything is used for the encryption. And you can see that from here to here it is the payload only. So within the payload we are adding two more fields, that is the initialization value IV and traffic flow confidential, that is TFC, is being added as a part of the payload data, which is where the IV is used for the synchronization purpose and TFC is used to provide the TFC service, traffic flow confidentiality service. That's all about this ESP extended format. Now let us see what are the various encryption and authentication algorithms that are used in this ESP. In the previous discussions, we have seen that the payload data along with the padding and the pad length and the next header fields, they are the only fields that are encrypted in the ESP. So it is going to provide the confidentiality service. So in order to provide the confidentiality service, you should go for the encryption, and the encryption should cover the payload data, padding, the pad length, and the next header field. These four fields are sufficient for providing the confidentiality service. And if the algorithm used to encrypt, that is, as I told that some of the encryption algorithms, they require some additional information. They require some additional information for the synchronization of data. In such case, you will be adding the initialization vector IV, and it is, as I told that this is also a part of the payload. So for providing the synchronization of data, we are going to include a field called initialization vector inside the payload. And if it is included, an IV is usually not encrypted. You can see here. You can see here. IV is omitted from the encryption. This one. It is omitted from the encryption. All that you have to encrypt is from the payload to the next header. That's it. And this is not considered as a part of the ciphertext. This is all about the encryption. And coming to the ICV field, last one, which is going to provide the integrity service, you can see that this is optional, and if the user selects to have the integrity service, then ICV field should be added. And if the user is not bothered about the integrity, then there is no need to select this ICV field. So there will not be any ICV field here. So it is present only if the integrity service is selected and is provided by either a separate integrity algorithm or a combined mode algorithm that uses an ICV. So there can be algorithms that provide the integrity service separately, or they can be included along with the combined mode algorithm. That means they can be, the integrity service can be included along with the encryption. And remember, you have two things here. One is integrity and the second one is encryption. You may have a doubt whether you need to first perform the encryption and then go for the ICV, or first perform the ICV and then encrypt the data. So the thing is that, very important point, remember, the ICV is computed after encryption is performed. So encryption is performed first and then ICV is calculated first. What is the reason for performing the ICV later than the encryption means? What is the reason for performing the encryption first and then the ICV first is the order of processing facilitates rapid detection and rejection of bogus packets by the receiver. For example, let us say that sender is there and then we have the receiver here. They are connected with this communication channel, let us say. And at the sending side, first encryption is done and then ICV is done. So when the packet is arrived to the receiver end, he can check the ICV first. So if the ICV is not matched, then he can simply reject it. If the ICV is matching, then he can go for the decryption. But assume that it is done in a reverse manner, first ICV and then encryption. Then you have to first decrypt the data and then you have to calculate the ICV. So decryption is an additional step that you need to calculate before the ICV. So once the ICV is not good or it is not matching, you have to reject it. So after decrypting the data, you are going to reject it. Therefore, you are spending unnecessary time on the decryption. To avoid these particular unnecessary calculations or computations, what the others has suggested is you can go for the encryption first and then you go for the ICV. So once the packet is received, you are not going to perform the decryption. First of all, what you will do is you will simply look at the ICV value, or you simply calculate the ICV value and check it with the ICV value that is received in the packet. If they are matching, then it is accepted and then you go for the decryption. So you are not going to waste your time in the decryption process before calculating this ICV. That is the main reason why we calculate the ICV later than the encryption. So this is what the author is saying. So the order of processing facilitates rapid detection and rejection of replayed or bogus packets by the receiver prior to decrypting the packet. Hence, you can simply save all the computational calculations. Computation is saved. And the other purpose, this is the first purpose or the advantage, and the second advantage is it allows for the parallel processing of packets at the receiver. Parallel processing in the sense we have two things. One is you need to go for the decryption and another one is you need to go for the integrity check. Once this is done, that is the encryption after the ICV, you can go it in a parallel fashion. That means you can go for the integrity check and the decryption can take place in parallel. This is also possible. Right. So this is all about the encryption and the authentication algorithms, what we have seen here. And note that because ICV is not protected by the encryption, the keyed integrity algorithm must be employed to compute the ICV. That means you are not going to protect the ICV field by encryption. First encryption is done, then ICV is calculated and then put it into the packet. So these are some of the disadvantages. You may in the transmission, during the transmission, the attacker may attack and he may change the ICV value. But then also it will be provided, it will protect the data, right? So whatever change that is being done, it may not be equal to the value that is calculated by the receiver. So that's a different issue. Let us first understand how this encryption and authentication algorithms is going to be calculated. Whether you are going to perform the encryption first and then the ICV, or the ICV and then the encryption. So you should always remember that the encryption is done in the first phase and then the encrypted data along with the SPI and sequence number, everything will be taken into consideration for calculation of ICV. That is about the encryption and authentication. And let us see what is this padding. We have a field here called the padding, which varies from 0 to 255 bytes. And one of the purpose of this padding is, I told that we are going to fill or you are going to expand the plain text to the required length. That is one purpose. And the second purpose is, if you can see this pad length and the next header field, they are not left aligned, they are right aligned. You can see here, this is the right hand side, right? You can see these two fields, the pad length and the next header, they are aligned towards the right hand side of the packet. In order to provide this right alignment for the pad length and the next header, you can make use of the padding. So, this is second purpose. One is, the main purpose of the padding is, the first one is to make the plain text or to expand the plain text to the required length. And the second purpose is to align the data, alignment. The pad length and the next header is always right aligned, and to make these two fields right aligned, we make use of padding. And the last one is not that much important. There is another purpose of this one, where the additional padding may be added to provide the partial TFC, traffic flow confidentiality. How this is going to do is, it is going to secure the actual length of the payload, right. So, the attacker, he cannot get the actual data. For example, assume that the entire payload is around 1024 bytes. This is just an assumption. Out of this 1024, let us assume that 1000 bytes is the actual payload and 24 bytes is padding. So, 1024 is equal to 1000 plus 24. Assume that this 1024 bytes, the packet has been attacked by the attacker and he gets everything from here. But the attacker can only see 1024 bytes. He cannot see how many bytes are used for padding. What is the actual data? Is it 1000 bytes or 900 bytes? What is the padding length? That information is not available. And that too, everything is encrypted, right. So, this particular field, that is the padding, makes the attacker confused about the actual length of the data and the padding length. So, for this purpose, the padding can be used, or it also provides the traffic flow confidentiality by concealing the actual length of the payload. That means, by making the payload length secret. So, these are the three purpose or the advantages we have with the padding. As I told that the padding field serves several purposes: to expand the plain text to the required length. It ensures the alignment, that is, the pad length and the next header fields are right aligned within the 32-bit word. This is done by making use of padding fields. And finally, we have seen that this provides the traffic flow confidentiality also. So, these are the topics we have discussed. Let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed in today's session. We started our discussion with the encapsulating security payload. We started our discussion with the various services that are provided by the ESP, like the confidentiality, data origin authentication, integrity, anti-replay service, and traffic flow confidentiality. And we told that this ESP, these services, we need to select, the user has to select before establishing the security association. And it can work, the ESP can work with a wide variety of authentication as well as the encryption algorithms. And we have gone through the ESP packet format, where we have 7 different fields. Everything we have explained. SPI is used to identify the SA, sequence number is used to give the number to the packet, and it is used for the anti-replay service. payload is the actual data, padding is something that you will use it to align the pad length and next header field, and it is used to make the plain text to the required length, and it is also used to provide the TFC. And pad length gives the length of the padding that you have used, and the next header gives the TCP format, TCP header format. And integrity check value is used to check the integrity of the entire packet. So you are going to cover the ICV from the SPI to the next header field, but encryption is from the payload to the next header field only. These 2 points you should understand. And one important is encryption is done first and then the ICV is done, in order to reduce the computation that is involved in the decryption before rejecting the packet. And other than this, we have the extended format where we have 2 additional fields. One is the initialization vector and the second one is the TFC. Initialization vector is used for providing the synchronization of data. It is something like a nonce which is used only for one occasion, that is similar to that of OTP. And TFC, it is optional and it is of variable length, and whenever the algorithm requires the traffic flow confidentiality, this padding field is included. And we have seen what are the various encryption and authentication algorithms, what are the fields that you are going to encrypt, what are the fields that you are going to make use of for the calculation of ICV, everything we have seen. And finally, we ended our discussion with the padding concept, where the padding is used to expand the plain text to the required length, and it ensures the right alignment of both the pad length and the next header fields, and finally it provides the traffic flow confidentiality. So that's all for today's session. Thank you one and all. We'll join the next session with a discussion on topic like the anti-replace service. Thank you.